Fellow classmates, we would like to talk with the people of MHS about the Emergency Banking Relief Act that was passed on March 9th of 1933. We are sure you're all aware of the financial and banking difficulties which confronted the country during that time.
It was under these grim circumstances that President FDR broadcasted the first fireside chat on March 12th. These speeches and his frank, down-to-earth manner may have been the most effective tactic used to soothe the panicked public since the beginning of the Great Depression.
His language was inclusive and intentionally simple, so everyone would understand what the current situation was. This is how he addressed the problem.
What then happened during the last few days of February and the first few days of March? Because of undermined confidence on the part of the public, there was a general rush by a large portion of our population to turn bank deposits into currency or gold. A rush so great that the soundest banks couldn't get enough currency to meet the demand. The reason for this was that on the spur of the moment, it was of course impossible to sell perfectly sound assets to the bank and convert them into cash except at panic prices far below their real value. By the afternoon of March 3rd, a week ago last Friday, scarcely a bank in the country was open to do business.
Our president's primary objectives were getting people back to work and strict supervision of all banking, credits, and investments.
He declared a 4-day banking holiday, which shut down the banking system. During this time, people were not allowed to make transfers, deposits, nor withdrawals. Combined with the Federal Reserve's commitment to supply unlimited amounts of currency to reopen banks.
All members of the Federal Reserve System were required to insure their deposits, while non-member banks, about half of the United States total, were allowed to do so if they met the FDIC standards. Almost all incorporated commercial banks in the United States participated in the plan.
When the institutions opened for business again on March 13th, the people returned their stashed cash to neighborhood banks.
Within 2 weeks, the people of America had redeposited more than half of the currency that they had stored away before the bank closure. The stock market registered its approval as well.
On March 15th, 1933, the first day of stock trading after the extended closure of Wall Street, the New York Stock Exchange recorded the largest one-day percentage price increase ever, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average gaining 8.26 points to close at 6.10, a gain of 15.34%.
9,000 banks failed during the decade of the 1930s. Around 4,000 banks failed during 1933 alone. Depositors saw $140 billion disappear through bank failures. The New Deal. The Relief, Recovery, and Reform Program, known as the 3 Rs, were introduced by President Franklin D. Roosevelt during the Great Depression to address the problems of mass unemployment and economic crisis.
The Second New Deal. Despite the best efforts of President Roosevelt, the Great Depression continued. The nation's economy continued to wheeze. Unemployment persisted, and people grew angrier and more desperate. So in the spring of 1935, Roosevelt launched a second, more aggressive series of federal programs. These included the WPA, NYA, and the Resettlement Administration. Social Security, however, survived and expanded.
Thank you for watching.